Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Delighted to have my good friend Annette Monk here on the program. She is awesome, regular contributor now on The Price of Business. And Annette, you are the president of Carlton Staffing, which I think is just, what you do is so incredibly important in our business world today. I'm big on mitigating risk for business owners. I'm big on vetting employees on the front end so employers can focus on really growing their business. I love what you do, and your company's been doing it for quite a while. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Carlton Staffing, and then go ahead and introduce us to your guest today.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. Well, Carlton Staffing is a full-service placement firm, and we place any people in an office environment or anyone out in the warehouse, including skilled trade. We place temp to hire, and direct hire positions. We also have a division called KTEK that places engineering and IT professionals.
Very good. And your guest today?
I'd love to welcome Chuck Drobny, who's the president and CEO of Global Logics. Thank you for joining us, Chuck.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Chuck, kind of start off with your elevator speech. Kind of give us an overview of what your company's all about.
We're an engineering company that designs, installs, and programs instrumentation and control systems. We've been in the oil and gas sector since our founding in 2004. Presently, we're expanding into agricultural food processing, primarily as a result of the difficult times that we're having in oil and gas with the capital projects that most of our customers have had being severely cut back because of the price of oil.
Makes sense. Annette?
Well, Chuck, if you would share a little bit more about that story. I thought it was so interesting that you were looking for other strategies with the oil and gas market being the way it is.
I'd like to claim, infinite wisdom and terrific foresight in identifying what was out there. But as I told you before, even a blind squirrel catches an acorn every now and then. This time about last year, one of our employees, superintendent up in our shop up in Weatherford, his father called him and said, "Son, can you come with your field guys and fix a problem that I'm having in an agricultural plant in Seguin, Texas?" Well, as the guys know, that when you're 35 years old and your dad calls you up and says, "Hey, son, can you do this?" you turn around and do everything you can to prove to your father that you and your guys can do it. So he called me up, asked me if we could do work outside of our sector. I said sure, because I knew what was in stake for him. The guys went. They did a good job, as I was pretty sure they would. Customer paid us for the work. When I got the report back as to what was going on there, I sent 2 engineers the next week. And then we recognized that in agricultural food processing, the instrumentation and controls are very, very similar to the same instrumentation and controls that we're doing in oil and gas. The issue, though, is that these legacy plants for animal food processing and some of the mills haven't been upgraded since since I was in college, probably. Mm-hmm. So it's become a really open market for us, and now that there's just very little possibility for us to expand any in oil and gas, all of our marketing and sales efforts are really directed toward animal feed processing. So it's kind of a strange combination. Oil and gas on one side and animal feed on the other.
What are the other potential verticals for you?
Well, chemicals is good. Right now they're having a real good boom, but that's a lot more sophisticated and a lot larger organizations. We're seeing some remote rural feed processing facilities that don't make feed. They make some oils and some other chemicals. I guess there's probably a lot of them that are out there, but I'm trying to chew on the whalebone I got in my teeth right now, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. So there's about 8,500 of these plants in the United States. So I figure it's going to be quite a while before we can work our way all the way through them. Mm-hmm. and develop it. Now, I have no problem in growing the business. If we can have a lot more of this business, I'll add people. When we came here in 2006, we started out with 4 people with Global Logics, and we grew that staff up. We were the fastest growing company in Houston in 2006 or 7, something like that. Made the Inc. 50 that year. So we know how to grow. I've had shops that I've opened in other states and other cities, opened them and closed them, we try to be real flexible with regards to how the business is going and where the opportunity lies.
Very good. Annette?
So you mentioned these 8,500 manufacturing facilities. Would you share with us your advice to the salesperson that you sent out or that was going to go out to see a prospect or a client in another state, and what you suggested he do about getting there and why?
I tell my guys that they have to give the customer some information about their business or about their facility that they don't know. They need to give them a wow moment. Wow, I didn't know that. We have one video that we've produced that we have on our website that shows what we've done with a plant up in Abilene and the absolute hodgepodge of wires that we replaced with our system is in itself a kind of a wow moment. We give them the wow moment, and then we wait and see if the customer tells us that there's some sort of ROI for them. Most people selling are going out and trying to give a customer some sort of canned return on investment scenario that may not fit that customer. The old expression that when you're up to your elbows in alligators, it's hard to remember that your mission was to drain the swamp.
What about the travel? Do you remember the travel thing you told me about?
Well, in oil and gas, we'll go to South Texas or we'll go to West Texas, and the distance from the hotel to the field where we're actually working may be 45 or 50 minutes because it's 20 miles into the field at 20 miles an hour, and they're spread out. So the animal feed plants, these facilities obviously are usually close to hotels and close to restaurants and close to roads. So the travel for us, we still have to go to other places. Working a lot of Kansas right now. But most of the stuff in Texas, it's a lot easier to get to.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of your business is in Texas?
In the last several years, probably 90% in the last 2 years. Before that, we've done a fair amount in Pennsylvania, in North Dakota, Colorado. We've done work in the Middle East, sent some people to West Africa, and years ago we did a big field in Australia.
And because of the shift, outside of energy into this other arena, are you going to see more movement outside of Texas, do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking to hire somebody up in the upper Midwest right now, as a matter of fact. I want to find somebody who has that compelling swagger and who really wants to live out in a rural area but has, a little bit of cow poop on his boots, but but has a laptop that never leaves his briefcase.
There you go, Annette.
What is the competition like in that particular area?
We found that the competition are a few companies that have made some OEM type systems when the mills buy new equipment. But in terms of somebody who's coming in to service that equipment, there's some local electrical companies. They're just doing mostly wire hookup. I'm kind of shocked at this point after doing this for about 8 or 9 months. I'm not seeing anybody who's in the integrated engineering solutions business with these customers like we are. So I don't want to be that naive to think that we're the only ones out there, but so far I'm not seeing anybody who's directly competing with us.
That's terrific.
When did you begin to see that it was time to make a shift away from the energy focus? When did you catch that? We
had shifted about 18 months ago from doing a lot of well completions and looking more toward pipelines and moving a little bit more downstream. We think we made an earlier shift. I was probably 6 months too late on that. When I look back in hindsight, I see the handwriting was on the wall. I just didn't read the tea leaves well enough.
There you go. Interesting. Well, you did it quicker than most, so congratulations on that. By the way, Global Logics, you can find them at globlx.com. And we got about a minute left. And so, Annette, why don't you wrap it up for us?
Well, I love just for you to share any achievements that the company has had or anything that you really, really are very, very proud of that you'd like to share with us.
I have 54 families that haven't worried about losing their jobs. And they're feeding their families. They're putting food on the table. I'm making some money for my investors. And I think everybody's being treated fairly. The customers that we have like what we're doing. They keep coming back when they have work. And that's what I'm most satisfied with. And everybody's had a big part in doing that. And I've been fortunate enough to provide them with some guidance and some leadership that, helps them do it better.
Perfect.
Chuck, thanks for being with us. Very good. Annette Monks, you can learn more about her, too, at carltonstaffing.com. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
When we come back, we're going to have much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter, and this is The Price of Business.